What's up, YouTube? This is your girl, Megan. Welcome back to the Hood Astro Queen. To all of my returning subscribers. Now, if this is your first time joining me on today, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way in because you know you want to. And if you are interested in booking your very own natal chart reading, contact me at astroworld@gmail.com. That's ASTROWERLD@gmail.com, and we'll get you squared away on today, boo. So, without further ado, today's reading is the highly anticipated Summer Walker birth chart reading, okay? She is a R&B songstress, an Atlanta native. She's on fire right now. She just recently dropped her second project called Over It, I believe is the title. And it's produced by her boyfriend, who is also an Atlanta native. His name is London on the track. Or that's what we got London on the track. That's his tag. And yeah, I personally love the album. I give it a 7 out of 10. Go check it out if you haven't already. And even though she is from Atlanta, interestingly enough, I hadn't heard of her until recently. So I had to go retroactively check out all of her prior music, and I think she's a dope artist. Dope artist. I recently just started following her on IG, even though I really don't know that much about her, but she's still, from what I see, she seems to be a very sweet girl, very dope, free-spirited girl, and yeah, so I'm rocking with it, all right? So, without further ado, before I get into her chart, I just want to preface it by saying this. Her natal chart is one of the more interesting charts that I've seen from a celebrity in a very long time, all right? So it could be kind of controversial, my assertions, but if you don't like it, you know what you can do, baby. All right, so let's just go ahead and get into the tea. All right, so Summer Walker was born on April 11th, 1996 in Atlanta, Georgia, making her an Aries sun. Now, her moon could be in the later degree of Capricorn or the earlier degrees of Aquarius, depending on exactly what time she was born. And to be honest, you can make an argument for each moon sign. So her being a Capricorn moon could be plausible, as it could create a person who has a very snarky, maybe snarky isn't the right word, but a very dry, kind of clever sense of humor, you know, that can be kind of sarcastic and things of that nature. And she kind of gives me that from the little that I have seen of her. That's definitely consistent with her personality. It can also create a person who is very prone to depression and pessimism, a person who spends a lot of time alone, like in solitude. And some of the interviews that I have seen, I think somebody was speaking with her mother, and her mother actually described her as a person who, when she was little, would isolate herself whenever she would be going through something, or even if she just wanted peace, she just preferred to spend time alone. Very much Capricorn moon. So, I could see that. And with her being an Aquarius moon, she could be the type of person to have a very eccentric personality, which is another reason why I feel like that could potentially even be accurate as well. Like, I could see her being an Aquarius moon. A lot of Aquarius moons are very quirky, offbeat. They can even be downright weird. And she definitely embodies a lot of those characteristics. And with her moon conjoined to her Uranus, which is at the 4th degree of Aquarius, that's kind of like a double whammy of Aquarian energy, because the number 4 is governed by Uranus. It's like it could deal with her being somebody who even is borderline disassociative, if maybe that's the right way to say it. Somebody who is so kind of on her own path and her own level, own plane of thinking, and almost like always in her own little quirky world, that she can kind of be, she can lack social skills in a way. She can be very socially awkward. And I've seen a few interviews of her. She kind of does give you social awkwardness. It could also point towards her physical appearance, in the sense that she has a hairstyle that she always falls back on. And because she changes her hair a lot, but one hairstyle that she continues to like rock is this like, they look like dreads, but I'm not really sure. But they're very matted. They're very matted, very messy. It also makes her look kind of dirty, to be honest. It's like, I can't explain it. Y'all see it on the screen here. You know what I'm talking about. That's definitely a byproduct of her moon conjoined to Uranus, especially with the moon being so messy, you know? So I thought that was pretty interesting. Her Mercury is at the 5th degree of Taurus, which deals with her being a great singer, having an amazing singing voice. It can also make her a great writer, and it does deal with her affinity towards music and her creative capabilities and all that good stuff. It can also deal with her playing an instrument. I find a lot of people with Mercury in Taurus or even Venus in Taurus have the ability to play an instrument. And I think she plays the guitar. So that's pretty neat as well. Her Mercury is squaring her Uranus, which kind of further reinforces my earlier sentiments about her being socially awkward, having a very offbeat kind of personality, offbeat kind of behavior. And once again, I see that a lot from her. Just even in interviews, she's just very like, I'm going to say weird, but I don't think weird necessarily has to be a bad thing. But she's weird. She's definitely kind of weird. It could also even point towards there being some type of issue, like there being some type of mental issue there. I do see this a lot with people who have varying autistic, like they vary on the autistic spectrum. I'm not saying that Summer Walker necessarily has to fit that criteria, but I'm just saying that this aspect is very common, like that it can produce that. Or just on at best case scenario, it could just make her very weird and awkward and like, just kind of out of this world and spaced out a lot. Her Venus is at the 6th degree of Gemini. Now, the number 6 also reinforces her creative capabilities. And this placement can deal with her being a great writer. It can kind of reinforce that. And I do think she writes her music. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but that can absolutely make her an amazing writer. Also, Venus and Gemini individuals, particularly the women, tend to be very, very flexible. And this placement can also deal with her love for the art of pole dancing, which she has incorporated into a lot of, one of her videos, but she posts a lot of videos on IG of like women pole dancing, and pole dancing is literally an art. So that's that 6th degree there. And then, Venus in Gemini is all about, it could even be very much like an expose kind of, placement, I guess you could say. So like people who have Venus and Gemini, depending on how it's aspected, and of course the house placements matter, I've actually seen this produce strippers. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, this could definitely reflect her love or her admiration for pole dancing and that kind of thing there. Her Venus at the 6th degree of Gemini can also make her rather promiscuous, I would say, and it kind of reinforces this theme that she has in her chart of her being very free going. And I always say that Venus in Gemini, or Gemini in and of itself, does represent flexibility. So people who are very flexible with their sexuality, and this could even extend over into like her being bi-curious, tri-curious, bisexual, her just being a type of like anything goes, kind of thing. So there's that. Her Mars is at the 13th degree of Aries, and it's conjoined to her Sun as well as her Aries South node. So this right here can deal with her being very, 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 very masculine, which in a lot of ways we've seen, and she's even described herself as an alpha female. That's a very Aries South node, Aries thing to say. And a lot of fire sign women do kind of possess those qualities. So Sag women, Leo women, Aries women have those qualities to a certain extent. But in Summer Walker's case, Okay, with her Sun and Mars conjoined to her South Node in Aries, her Saturn is at the 0 degree of Aries also. So it's like, at best, she comes from many past lives of being a man or really identifying with masculine energy. Okay. At worst, and I mean, I don't want to say worst because there's really it's no good or bad to it. But with this placement, I'm going to be honest, y'all. I feel like Summer Walker could potentially have been born a male, to be quite honest, with this placement or with these placements. Because this could actually represent her being born, especially with her Chiron conjoined to her North Node in Libra, could represent her being born into a body that she did not necessarily feel comfortable with. Okay. And you can even look at that Chiron conjoined to her North Node as her having a karmic duty to become the opposite sex in this lifetime. But by doing so, she would have to achieve it in a very artificial way. Okay. And you can even see this with the pictures that she posts of herself from like early childhood. There are 2 photos in particular that really caught my eye. One of them, she looked like she was, I guess, maybe in middle school. And she looked as if she looked like a little boy, to be honest with you. Or at best, maybe like she was a stud, which, if she's not born a male, if she wasn't born a male, at best, I feel like Summer Walker does not like men. And I'm going to just be honest. Even with her being with London, I mean, I feel like he could be an exception to that. But I feel like, so it could go 2 ways here, I guess is what I'm suggesting, or my assertion is. Either Summer Walker was born male, right, and transitioned into female. Because that is a thing. Actually a lot of parents transition their children very early on, to the point where the children don't even have to undergo puberty, right? They can just take certain hormones to stop their puberty, or going through the male or female puberty or whatever, and they can just make their transition that way. Or she is born a female, but this relationship with London, she might really care for him. They might be friends. He might even be the exception to the rule. But she's not genuinely into men like that. It's one or the other. And y'all can feel free to let me know which one you kind of more so leaning towards. But you can make a strong case for both, astrologically speaking. You can make a strong case for both. This is further reinforced with Summer's Sun squaring her Neptune at the 27th degree of Capricorn, which can deal with there being a lot of illusions and deception surrounding her identity. It can also deal with a person who is masquerading. Okay, her Venus forms an opposition to her Pluto, which is one of the major transsexual or transgender indicators in astrology. It could also deal with sexual reassignment surgery. Her Venus in Gemini, can also deal with cross-dressing, to be quite honest. That's one of the more blatant, literal interpretations of that placement. So I thought that was kind of odd too. Her Jupiter is at the 16th degree of Capricorn and is squaring her Chiron, and as well as her North Node in Libra. So, I mean, this right here further reinforces there being something artificial, something that's not quite right about her reputation and the way that she presents herself to the world, And, I mean, you could also use this to support there being something that's not quite right in her relationship, or between she and London on the track, like that whole relationship, whether it's a farce, whether it's I don't know, another way you can even interpret that is even that relationship being dysfunctional, especially with that loaded Aries South Node, her Sun and Mars conjoined to her Aries South Node. I'm pretty sure she has a very long or lengthy history of tumultuous relationships, high strung, I would even say abusive, even relationships with men, very karmic relationships with men. She probably does attract very abusive men, very misogynistic men, which is very funny because she in London supposedly broke up a few days ago, and she posted, "Oh, I always attract the misogynistic men." That's very much consistent with her sun and Mars conjoined to her south node in Aries. And not for nothing, London is also in Aries as well. So an Aries is a very misogynistic type of sign. It just is. So, there's that. It can also this heavy Aries energy can also deal with Summer Walker and her affinity for guns, knives. Like she'll make a song talking about waving a gun in a nigga's face, or she'll post pictures with guns, or she'll talk about how she needs a knife in her purse. That's very much consistent with Aries. Aries it deals with weaponry, and Aries is one of the signs of combat. It's the primary sign of combat. So, there is that. But like I said, it's something that's not quite right, or something that isn't about her identity, that isn't what it appears to be. Her Black Moon Lilith is at the 21st degree of Cancer, and it's squaring her sun, which further reinforces this theme of her being an artificial woman. It just does. It just does. Also, I meant to mention, you can look at that Venus in opposition to her Pluto as her getting, I said sexual reassignment surgery, but just surgery and enhancements in general, which, she's admitted that she's gotten. I think she admitted that she got her boobs done and her butt done or something like that. But even still, there are most trans people do. So that's not even necessarily disproving that. Now, I also want to get into London's chart a little bit. Okay, London was born March 27, 1991 in Atlanta, Georgia, making him an Aries as well, as I stated before. But it could also make him a later degree Leo moon or an early degree Virgo moon. Now, with him being a Leo moon would actually be very consistent with him liking trans women, actually, because Leo moon men, I find, tend to be more sexually attracted to other men who dress up as women. Okay. Also, with him being born on the 27th, that number 27 deals with trans women, because that number 2 embodies the woman, the divine feminine, and the number 7 deals with trans. It deals with, once again, cross-dressing, dressing up. Listen. Okay. His Venus is at the 10th degree of Aries, 10th degree of Taurus, which, deals with him playing instrumentation as well, him being a producer, him being, or having a lot of creative abilities and being really artistically and musically inclined, of course. His Mars is at the 26th degree of Gemini, which actually could even make him sexually flexible. Okay. Sexually fluid there. So that doesn't help the case. His Venus is actually squaring his Saturn, which is at the 4th degree of Aquarius, which reinforces this thing of him dealing with women who are artificial in some way. That's the best way I can put it. Or it could even point towards him dealing with trans women or having eclectic taste in as far as his sexuality goes. His South Node, his South Node is at the 24th degree of Cancer, and it's conjoined to his Chiron, y'all, which can absolutely deal with him being with artificial women, fake women, but it could also deal with him having mommy issues. It could also deal with him having issues, inherent issues with women. So like I said, at best, he's a trash individual. Maybe let me not say trash. He's very broken. You can tell he's a very broken individual, and infidelity could be a huge issue, especially with that Mars and Gemini, and it's forming an opposition to his Black Moon Lilith, which is yeah, like he could be a thought. But you could even look at that opposition as there being a truth that comes out about his sexuality, his dating partner. Like, oh my God, like, whew, this is, like I said, this was a real interesting reading. Very interesting reading. So yeah, I didn't want to get too deep off in his chart, but I wanted to bring it up to support a lot of those same consistencies that I saw in Summer Walker's chart that could absolutely point towards her being born a male. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to the shit. I'm sticking to it. Also, that Sun or his South Node, his Cancer South Node conjoined to Chiron, makes him somebody who's not meant to be a family man in his lifetime. He's not, which is very funny because he's always joking about getting her pregnant. That's a different video for a different day. However, okay, he shouldn't be getting any woman pregnant. I mean, if she is biologically a woman, I doubt it, but just in general, he shouldn't be getting any woman pregnant in his lifetime. He has a lot of issues to work through. I highly doubt that he's faithful. Yeah, it just is what it is. It is what it is. So I didn't want to make this reading too long. Y'all drop down in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of this reading. And yeah, make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And until the next time, I holla.